And we're back with round 2 after an exciting round 1, Max. I cannot wait to see what's happening with round 2.
Yeah, we've seen the red and yellow decks be featured on stream, so hopefully we get at least white or purple on stream here this round, as we have 2 new players all lined up, ready to go.
Being able to see hopefully the white and purple. We've seen both aggro matches, now we see the both control matches. If we do, I'm hoping we do.
Yeah, it'll be, well, we have 5 rounds today, so hopefully we get all the combinations at least once.
Eventually we will, I reckon. Now, I'm sure you can see the stuff we have here, guys. We've got a couple of starter decks, a box, and some cool promotional material. Later on, we may be going into this and opening some stuff up and introducing what we do have in these packs.
Yeah, definitely. If one of the rounds goes shorter or we have a bit of extra time later throughout the day, we'll be able to crack into these and show you guys some of the great stuff that Battle Spirits has to offer.
100%. Maybe a cheeky pack battle or two, you know? As everyone knows, I love to open packs.
Definitely. And as we see the players start to get ready, we'll be able to cut over to them very shortly.
I just want to point out, these what are they again? Cores. I got it wrong. Core trays are absolutely brilliant. So everyone here in attendance will get one of these core trays with the white on it. And top 32 will actually get the cores with the blue on it. They're just brilliantly made. You can't see it on the camera, but the texture on them, like just everything about them is amazing.
Yeah, as you can see, when I put it at the right angle, you can see like a bit of white down here. Oh, there's the perfect angle. You see how beautiful that shines.
Amazing.
So it is an amazing product. And we also do have these life holders for your cores.
Such a great thing. I think what Bando's done with this card game is amazing, to be honest. I'm just quite surprised at just how well thought out this has been.
Definitely. I've never seen a launch party as big as the one we have today. And it's honestly amazing to be a part of.
I'm very happy to be here right now.
Yeah, it is definitely good. So we are about to cut to the match where we're going to see 2 of our players who won the first round, see if they can get a second round win here on stream. So we do have 2 players here.
There definitely aren't Tyson Niles and Max Kennedy, but...
We have Josh Hayes and Gary Barker.
Gary Baker. The R's a bit wrong there, but
looks like our R key got a little bit stuck.
Hey, Gary will bark if you take away his trunks, though. So
yep. We will see this game get ready shortly, as we are doing the opening roll, and it is going to be a high roll. And I cannot see the numbers. I don't know about you, Tyson.
I believe Gary rolled a 4, and his opponent Josh has just rolled higher. So I believe Josh is going to go first. So let's just see how this pans out. I'm very curious to see. Just off the glare there, I think Josh is playing purple. I hope he's playing purple.
Well, I just remembered I have access to the sneaky colors, so I can have a look.
You know what I know, though? I know Gary's playing purple because I asked him before. So we see at least one purple player.
Yeah, we are. So it looks like red if I'm not colorblind, but we do have, yes, you're correct. Gary is playing purple. And then we will have Josh.
Just trying to find what it is. I'm trying to sort of sneak it. Might be purple. Who knows what it is?
I believe it is purple as well. I think we're going to see, and definitely with that Nexus card coming down, we are definitely going to have ourselves a purple mirror match here.
And the Nexus turn 1 is so crazy. I believe that's a Nexus that if your opponent exhausts a card, you draw a card, is it? Or am I wrong?
Yes, that looks like Purple Smoke Valley. So Purple Smoke Valley, draw a card when one of your effects destroys one of your opponent's spirits. So no, it is not the one that... I guess that is the 6-cost Nexus you're thinking of, Tyson. But this one, when one of your effects destroys an opponent's spirit by reducing its cores to 0, you get to draw a card. And then if you have 2 cores on it, it'll be a level 2. And your spirits with curse cannot be blocked with opponent spirits with only 1 core on them. And then Gary comes down with a spirit of his own.
3 or 4 cost spirit, I believe it is. He's most likely a 3 cost. Not too sure what that one is there. You able to pull that one up, Max?
I will try, but we do see on, with at least Joshua has the Belgor of the Dark World 7, which is the Immortal card, which will keep coming back whenever your other spirits are destroyed.
I believe Gary also has the Beldegor, but seeing sort of blue, yeah, I believe they both have
They,
Beldegors on the
they both
field.
have Belgors, it's just the different angles. They do look a little bit different. And we do see Gary come down with another Spirit here. So purple is a very grindy matchup where both of these players are essentially just going to want to outvalue the other. So you won't see as many early attacks as we saw last game, but they will add up towards the end of the game.
And the fun thing is, they're just going to keep popping each other's cards. We may not see a damage go through for quite a few turns.
Yeah, because when you get that damage through, your opponent just gets extra value.
And that's exactly what you don't want your opponent to have.
So we will see another Spirit come down here for Joshua, which looks like the Dark Knight Agloval, which has, when destroyed, you get a draw card. So it is essentially just that advantage, but we will see essentially just a block off where Gary's Spirit will be destroyed, but it is the Spirit with Immortal. So one of Purple's keyword skills is Immortal, which is when you may summon your Spirit with Immortal from your trash when one of your Spirit cards with a cost in the Immortal keyword skill, so in this case it's Immortal 4 and 5, gets destroyed. So if any of Gary's other Spirits will get destroyed with a cost of 4 or 5, we get to bring Beldegor back. However, Gary does play your favorite Nexus, Tyson. This is the one that when one of your opponent's Spirits becomes exhausted, you get a draw a card. So Gary is going to get a lot of value out of this card over this game.
I find this card to be absolutely incredible, to be quite honest. Exhausting, well, when your opponent gets exhausted, drawing a card, it's such incredible value, especially into an aggro deck as well. If you were playing, say, red or yellow, you just draw like an infinite number of cards.
Yeah, definitely. You are able to just obtain such a large advantage over, honestly, not that long. And Gary is just developing his board a little bit here, and we will see all those Spirits go onto that Netherworld Depths and make it a level 2, which is when one of your Spirits is blocked, you may play one core from this Nexus to destroy your opponent's blocking Spirit when the battle ends. So it looks like we are just going to see a very grindy matchup here.
100%. It's gonna feel like you just don't want to block, and it's gonna be so rough. And as we've seen, we've only seen one attack, but no live dealt just yet. It's going to be a long match. And we see Josh play one of the red cards for 5, I believe.
Yep, that is, from my memory,
killing the Nexus.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but it is the one that kills the Nexus that is Burning Force. So it has 2 effects. The first one is select one of your opponent's Nexuses and destroy it.
And the absolutely insane value that card possesses into purple is incredible. Being able to kill that 6-cost Nexus is just insane, especially the turn after your opponent plays it. It's very strong.
Yeah, he essentially just made Gary go -1 cards in hand. And as you can see in the back of Gary's hands, he has one himself, just waiting for Joshua to play his own 6-cost Nexus. But purple is all about that grind.
Gary's definitely going to be like, haha, I've got you now with my own. So here we go. It looks like he's about to play it.
He's having, I think we're going to put a core onto one of our Spirits, and then we're going to use it. And we get to kill both of them, it looks, because I think he paid the Spirit core, if I am correct on this one.
Yep.
Oh, no, sorry, I was wrong. You just get to select 2 of your opponent's Spirits with 3,000 off your BP and destroy them. So that is just a clear board there from Gary. And once again, we're just going back into this advantage matchup.
As we've seen differently with the last round, both players were swinging for a couple of damage, but we've not seen damage, and it's been, what, 3 turns each by now?
Yeah, it has been 3 turns. The cores are starting to stack up. However, the life is remaining stagnant at 5. And that is just the advantage that this game. And we will see another purple Nexus come down, just
So
building up that value.
Yeah, and when his opponent's Spirits are KO'd, by reducing their cost, he's going to draw 2 cards. And he'll just continue to keep doing that. And that can be some massive, massive advantage.
Definitely. And purple is one of those colors that can reduce the number of cores on your opponent's spirits extremely easily with a bunch of different effects. So having one core on one of your spirits is extremely risky, which is why we see Gary be very smart about how he's playing and leave both of his spirits with 2 cores each.
100%. Now, obviously, the Josh playing only one card, but having those 2 Nexuses up, he's just setting up to be able to draw his whole deck and go for game late game. I would expect this game to go for much longer than 30 minutes, don't you think?
Yes, we could be seeing a very long game 1 here.
We could possibly only see a game 1.
Definitely, and we do just see another spirit come down. A lot of these purple spirits that we're seeing come down here aren't going to be doing much for a while. They do have some pretty nasty effects on them, but we just have to wait for spirits to be destroyed for them to get those effects off.
Gary putting more cores on his cards just to make sure his opponent cannot kill them.
Indeed. So it seems like Gary at the moment has 2 of these Dark Knight Agneveils, which, when destroyed, if it has the Soul Core, you get draw a card, or maybe that's one of it. It is quite hard to see from up here what spirits we do have on the field.
But Gary having 4 cards on field now, quite a few blockers if he needs, or a few attackers. And with his opponent having no cores at the moment, if he was able to get out an extra 2 cards, which he most likely couldn't, it could have been a situation where he could go for game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I figured out what cards. I think on field in total we have 3 of these Dark Lancer Cavaliers. So 1 on Joshua's side, and we have 2 on Gary's side, which when summons just draws a card, which makes sense because both these players have just massive hands.
Exactly, and Gary playing 2 of them as well. Quite a lot of cards he's just been able to gather. Going a net 0 in terms of that, playing those 2 cards.
Definitely. And then the other 2 cards we have are the Dark Knight Agneveils on Gary's side, which draw a card when they're destroyed if they have the Soul Core attached to them.
And it appears, yep, he's playing, it's a 6 cost, I believe. I know what that card does. It's when it's played, you can actually choose all spirits and remove cores from them up until they have 1 left. I'm pretty certain that's what it does. If you want to confirm that, Max.
I definitely will, and that is another spirit that comes down.
Oh my, and he's just wiped Gary's board there. Now, did that remove all the cores, or was it just a board wipe? Because if so, he's drawing 8 cards. Yep. He's going to draw 8 cards, I believe, from that effect.
That is crazy how much cards draw. So the second card that was played was the Infernal King Dragon Curse. Remove 1 core from all other spirits and place them into their owner's reserve. Then place 1 core from the void onto the spirit for each spirit destroyed. So he's about to get a lot of spirits, and the judge can't even believe it that he is reading the card's effect, which is crazy.
Yeah, we could potentially just see a situation where he's going for game.
Yeah, definitely. And that first card played, you were correct, Tyson. It removes all but 1 cores from all spirits and place them into the owner's reserve. So Joshua was just setting up this big wombo combo where he comes in with the Dark Bishop and he finishes it with the Infernal King Cursed Dragon.
Such an incredible play.
Yep. And we do see the little 1-cost Camelot Knight come down, which if it does have the Soul Core on it, it will gain Curse on the attack.
And Curse, it's quite an interesting effect, that one. I believe it kills a card when it gets blocked, am I right?
You are correct. So if one of your opponent's spirits blocks, it is destroyed when the battle ends. So even if it has less power, even if the blocker has more power than the attacking card, it will still be destroyed. And we do see a Camelot Knight come down for Gary. So we have 1 on both sides of the field here.
Now, I'm sure Gary's sitting there thinking, man, do I want to build a board up, or am I going to get my board wiped yet again? That's quite a scary thought going into your turn.
Definitely. And it's a shame. It doesn't look like Gary's going to be able to return the board wipe favor, but Gary has a couple of those 6 costs in hand that remove all core but 1. So it will be interesting to see what comes down here. And it does seem like Gary has also played his own Smoky Valley. So if he destroys a spirit by removing the cores, Gary will go draw a card.
It does appear that potentially being able to get his spirit down to 1 core is all right. But at the end of the day, they're going to go back on it the next turn. He won't be able to kill this spirit with the cards he has in hand. So not a play that you sort of want to make.
It's definitely a rough one. It seems like Gary has just put all his cores onto the different
Onto his Camelot Knight.
yeah, onto his Camelot Knight and onto his Nexus, just to be able to say, if you are removing my cores, you will not be destroying my spirits today, sir.
And I see Gary just confirming what card's saying, so he's aware as well.
His one. He had one board.
Not too sure what's happening here. We'll get some clarification shortly.
So that went, and that went to the drop, and then that got, and that ran.
But there was a Dark Lancer Cavalier there as well, remember? Where he removed the cores from it.
I got a Dark Knight there.
No, it was...
Yep, so once again, the players are discussing what has the last couple of effects that have occurred. However, while they are doing this, let's talk about some other cool things Purple can do. So one of the big boss monsters for Purple this set is one of the poster childs, the Grand Underworld Trio Queen, Madook.
That is actually
Big name.
So it is a big name. It has 3 effects on it, which is crazy. So the first one, it will happen if you're, doesn't matter what level you are, so 1, 2, or 3. When one of your spirits with curse or blood curse reduces your opponent's life, place a lost life in the void instead of their reserve, which is a lot of value.
Wow.
It also has blood curse. When this spirit would be destroyed by your opponent, you may place 1 core from your opponent's life and 1 core from the spirit into the owner's trash to keep the spirit on the field.
Wow.
So you're burning your opponent's life while keeping resources. It's amazing. And then it's level 3 effect. All your spirits with curse gain blood curse. So anytime your spirits are destroyed, you'll be able to get that blood curse effect. So it is one of the big boss monsters that we'll be able to see. But it looks like we have resolved what has happened on the table here.
Beautiful. We're going to start to see what's actually happening. I believe he's just going to do a 1-for-1 here and kill both spirits.
Well, we will see Joshua come down with some more spirits, and that does look like the Belgor of the Dark World 7, which has Immortal. So even though it is played now, when it gets destroyed later, it could be played again.
He has played that castle as well, so when his opponent's spirits are rested or exhausted, he will draw a card for each one.
Definitely. And we see the Infernal Curse King Dragon attack. It does have 5 cores on it, so it's level 2. So when the spirit attacks, select one of your opponent's spirits and remove all but 1 core from it and place it into a reserve, which is a bit rough considering Gary doesn't have any spirits on the field at the moment.
I see Gary did just play a magic card and it's killed his other card on field. Not too sure what that one did there. Will you be able to bring that one up for us, Max?
Yes, which card has Gary played? Oh, that is the Deadly Balance, I believe, which is one of Purple's strongest magic cards. So essentially, you get to select one of your opponent's spirits. I will pull it up to get the exact wording so I don't butcher it. Deadly Balance. So your opponent selects one of their spirits and then select one of your spirits to destroy them both. But since Gary didn't have any spirits on board, he doesn't have to destroy any of his own spirits.
Okay, I see. And Gary's also played his Nexus. I can't really see what's going to be happening to this next turn because I believe Gary does have the Absolute Ice Shield in his burst, but if he doesn't, that's going to be a rough one because this could be game.
Definitely. I think we saw Gary place that down earlier. So there we go. There's the Deadly Balance that we get to see on screen now, which is what Gary was able to remove one of Joshua's spirits with. Joshua has played the Camelot Knight, which is essentially just another attacker at this point, and he's putting all his cores on his spirit so he doesn't get burned by one of Gary's effects to remove the cores. It does look like Joshua essentially is presenting game in case there's not an absolute ice shield in the burst there. So Gary's going to do, just going to show that the absolute ice shield exists, and then he's going to pay the 4 off one of his Nexuses, and he's not even going to bother because it's just going to be a passive turn.
Exactly.
All right, so this is one thing, and it just shows how strong Absolute Ice Shield is, because Joshua would have had game there. He had 2 swings on board, nothing Gary could have done about it, but Gary gets to draw a card off of his effect. He gets to place another burst, which is probably another Absolute Ice Shield, and he gets to try develop another board.
And with those 2 Nexuses on field as well, He will start drawing some extra cards later on down the line.
Definitely. So that's one. That's yeah. You got one Nexus, which is just will draw you a card when you get a destroy off removing the cause.
Yep.
And the other Nexus gets you a draw when one of your opponent's spirits becomes exhausted.
And we see Gary play another Camelot Knight. This one doesn't have Curse at the moment because it doesn't have the Soul Core on it, so it can't kill the big dragon if it attacks. But I doubt his opponent would block if it had the Soul Core on it.
Yeah, Joshua's still on 5, so it just shows how much more resource he could get at any given point of this game.
And the amount of resources he already has is just incredible. So he could just go completely wide if he takes this life.
Most definitely. I'm trying to find what other card Gary has on the field. However, it currently has 6 cores on it, so I cannot read it.
No question. No blocks.
So we will see the attack, which does the first life from Joshua there.
There we go.
Essentially just giving Joshua more resources. I'm not sure if he's even worried about his life. He only has to deal 2 more damage to
That's
Gary
right.
to win the game.
And Josh obviously drawing a card there as well for him. Gary resting a card. It's gonna be a pretty close. I don't think it's gonna be a close one, to be honest. Actually, I think I can see Josh pulling this one out within the next few turns, considering Gary's board state and life. Obviously he's got the absolute ice shield, but the amount of resources Josh has and can provide himself is too large.
Yep. So we are paying 3 to play another spirit here. So this is the Dark Knight Mordred, which normally costs 5, but it has 2 cost reduction with the 2 spirits and the 5 Nexus. So by far reaches cost reduction. When summoned, you select one of your opponent's exhausted spirits and remove 2 cores from it and place it into the reserve, which is what we've just seen here. However, Gary did put 6 cores on it, so it will most definitely survive. And it does have a when attacking effect to remove a core. Select one of your opponent's spirits and remove a core from it.
Now, Josh is going to attack by the looks of it, and Gary will draw a card. But depends, will that card be able to help Gary?
Swing.
Definitely. So the when attacking effect of this dragon will be able to remove all the cores from one of Gary's spirits besides one. So it looks like we're moving everything besides that soul core there.
So there we go. Gary draws a card. Looks like it's it's a spirit card he's drawn, possibly one of the knights.
No flash.
And they're just trying to possibly do damage here. Is that right? Yep, there we go.
Yeah.
Not even going to take the life.
Just going to flip that absolute ice shield over and just show it to his opponent.
Obviously, for game etiquette, you've just got to do it, but not really necessary at this stage.
Yeah.
We know what the cards do.
Definitely. And so that spirit that Gary has left on the board, the one on the right, is a Dragonaga Assassin. It is a serpent with a sword. It looks amazing. Some of the art on these cards is ridiculous.
They've done a great job, as I've said before. It's brilliant. And we see Gary, he's put down the Starblessed draw in his burst, possibly trying to bait his opponent into thinking he has another absolute ice shield, but really it's just to draw 4.
Yeah, essentially, if Josh plays a when summon effect, Gary can draw 4 cards and hope to just draw into another absolute ice shield, which will give a lot of value there.
Either that or into his completely board wiping cards like Josh did to Gary.
Definitely, we can see a bunch of different lines of plays from both players here. While Gary's only on 2 life, it doesn't mean he's out for the count yet.
With 2 blockers on field and Gary having 3 attackers, it's sort of hard to see what you sort of want to do here. Gary putting more cores on his spirits. Potentially he'll attack or just leave him up to block.
Yeah,
Which is to be done.
Yeah, it looks like we are just going to leave up for the block. He doesn't want to give Josh any cards off that 6-cost Nexus that we see on the field there.
It is very hard. And there we go. We see him going to possibly kill his Nexus.
Yep.
There we go. So Jerry's no longer going to draw any more cards. And it's going to be a bit of a rough one from here on out.
Yeah, so that Burning Force, such a good card, especially in these purple mirrors, because that 6-cost Nexus is a pain to deal with.
It puts in a lot of work.
Definitely. So it looks like Josh is just thinking of going straight to the attack step, so Gary will not get the effect of that Starburst draw, and this could be nearly it.
We're going to remove all the calls from the middle card. I forget the name.
That
Raptor?
is the Dragoniga Assassin.
Okay, Dragoniga Assassin. Removing all the calls from that. He's going to block with the same card and let it die.
Yep.
He sort of has no choice here, to be honest, considering he's got 2 life. But Josh is going to draw an additional card for him resting his character.
Definitely. So that block there kind of shows Josh that Gary doesn't have that absolute ice shield
Exactly.
in his burst. So I think Josh is deciding whether to push a little bit or whether if he pushes it just a little bit too much, is he overextending for Gary to be able to just win on the clapback?
Potentially. I mean, look, all Gary needs to do is block one more attack and he's safe. He can take that last life and potentially come back with some absolutely cracked damage.
Definitely, which is what we see here. And it does look like that was a block from the Dark Knight Agnaval, which would let Gary draw a card because it did have the Soul Core on it. However, Josh will remove the Soul Core very sneakily.
And we see Gary opting to block all 3 attacks with Josh drawing an additional card. And that last card he drew was the Absolute Ice Shield. So he can actually play that on Gary's turn and stop himself from losing if Gary has enough attacks.
Yeah, it's crazy just to see how much further Josh is ahead in this game than Gary. Just for the life of me, I can't... Is that all the same card in Gary's hand?
I believe it's 3 of the same card.
That's rough, because that card is the Dark Bishop Bacillus, which is one of the cards that Josh used in the 2-card combo to absolutely wipe Gary's board and essentially just seal the game for Josh about 5 turns ago, which is, it removes all cores but 1 from each of your opponent's spirits. However, removing that, doing that multiple times, they're still going to be left on 1 core each. And it looks like Gary is just going to play 1 down.
It's incredibly rough for Gary because he has the 3 of those in hand, and he also has the Castle Nexus as well. But it's not going to do a whole lot of work. Yeah, he will draw a couple of cards for his opponent attacking, but really, what is it going to do?
Yeah, with Gary only being on 2 life, he essentially has a couple options here. The first of which is try to just develop a board and stall for another turn. The next option is he could play his Nexus and then just pray to draw into Absolute Shield.
Exactly.
But it looks like Gary is just going for developing a board type deal here, and we will see what's happening.
I could see what he could do, potentially playing that Nexus and praying to draw into an Ice Shield when his opponent attacks him, but you know, I'm not too sure. Gary drawing an additional card here. I believe they missed one earlier. And Gary taking back that play there.
So it's on
Looks like they're just rewinding the clock a little bit there just to make sure that we do have everything being in the correct position.
Definitely don't want to skew game states, especially when you're playing for this sort of cash either, right? So
Yeah.
you want everything to be running very smoothly.
Definitely, and the judges are doing a great job here making sure that we are in the correct game state.
Exactly.
It was the wind summoned, right?
But we can see we've had
attack, sorry.
the first round went very smoothly. We didn't have had a couple of judge calls, but not a whole lot of issues.
Oh,
and,
as in-
everyone's
like the
seems to be
spirit.
having a great time, which is
imagine
what you want to see, especially at an event like this.
Yeah, definitely. We still have, I would say, a good 90% of the games going on here. You've got 1 or 2 players getting up and walking around. However, most players are still sitting down and enjoying their game.
All right, so we're still going on with Gary's turn here. Nothing else has really changed. They took back that play. I think Gary just reading cards and providing them to the judge. I wonder how this turn's going to progress, to be honest with you, Max, because I can't see much more that Gary can do to try and seal this game out.
Yeah, once this resolves, we will essentially see a couple. I think it's got 1 or 2 more turns into it until Josh is able to win the game just from pure advantage. And it looks like everything has been resolved. So big thanks to the judge team for that. And we're just going to be able to play out a Dark Knight Mordred, which was the other card Gary had in his hand, which selects one of your opponent's exhausted spirits and removes 2 cores from it and places it in their reserve. So that is a big swing. They're getting rid of one of Joshua's 2 big swingers on the field, which is also able to, on swing, remove all cores but 1. So he does have, Joshua did have on field a 2-card combo, which would be able to essentially destroy any of Gary's cards. So being able to get rid of one of those 2 pieces is extremely important here. But as we do see, Josh does have that absolute ice shield in hand, so he's at least got another turn of survival in him. And then outside of that, it's kind of up to the realms of possibility, because purple is a very controlling mirror, so it's not over till it's over.
I can pretty much see from here Josh just going in with a bunch of little attacks and trying to pray for game. But I can also see him building up a board again and just trying to go for game there.
Yep.
There we go. We see the Starblast draw with Gary going to be drawing 2 and 4 cards he's going to draw. So going +3.
Yep. And then he pays the extra 2. Yep. He does. He draws all those cards, which is exactly what Gary has been hoping for this past little bit. He placed that Starbirth draw into his burst, just kind of hoping Josh would eventually play a card with a When Summon effect, which we do see here. And Beldegor of the Dark World 7 may seem like a little bit of a misplay how Josh has played it, but he had no clue that Gary was holding that Starbirth draw.
Exactly. You've got to always assume that your opponent has the absolute ice shield on field, because if you don't, then you could potentially be costing yourself game. So, you know, an on-summon effect here and there, giving your opponent some cards, might not be the worst of things if you're, thinking about an absolute ice shield.
Yeah, and Starbirth Draw is one of those cards which we are going to see in a lot of decks, even though it's not red. So red will be able to play it for 2 because it can use its cost reduction. However, here in a purple deck, Gary did have to pay 4 for it. Similarly with Absolute Ice Shield, even though it is a white card and white can play it for 1 less, all colors will be trying to play it. And we do see a Deadly Balance, I believe it was called, come down here for Gary, which you destroy one of your creatures, and then your opponent selects one of their creatures and destroys it as well. So a bit of board removal here from Gary.
Definitely a crazy combo, and with Josh having only 1 card up, it's definitely going to be a tricky situation to swing through.
Yes, definitely a interesting predicament we've got ourselves in, because Gary is still sitting on that 2 life, so he's on the cusp of being out of this game. However, he keeps surviving another turn, and he just drew an absolute ice shield for turn.
Gary's absolute insane luck in this last turn is incredible. His opponent's going to think he's got another Starblast draw. He's just baiting him, but really, Gary's got that absolute ice shield and is going to show his opponent that, yes, I am still in this game. I am still trying to win, and there's nothing you can do to stop me.
Definitely, and we are seeing Gary playing the other Starbirth draw that he had in his hand to just draw 2 cards, just to see what other options he is able to play down throughout the turn.
Gary definitely he's gone from a very relatively small hand to this large hand that can potentially be able to pull out a lot of little threats.
And that's one of the things I love about this game, is even though Gary has been on the back foot for a couple turns in a row, he's able to develop a board state that he's in it for the win. Like, he's not on the back foot anymore.
Exactly. When you've got such a large amount of money at stake, you definitely want to be showing your opponent that I am here to play and you're not going to beat me just that easily. Definitely.
And we see Gary come down with his own Beldegor as well as a Dark Bishop Baculus. So that Dark Bishop Baculus has removed all the cores but 1 from Joshua's only spirit remaining on the board. I really hope Gary has some way to remove it. Doesn't look like he does. He's playing down another Dark Bishop, which won't do anything in terms of affecting Joshua's board, as Joshua's only spirit already has 1 core on it.
Yeah, and you're going to see Joshua draw a few cards here. Gary's swinging in, but with his Nexus on field, he will draw a couple of cards. He does only have the 1 blocker, but those card draws are going to be quite large for him.
Yeah, and then when you're on Gary's side of the field, you know what? I'm not even going to finish that sentence, because we see the absolute ice shield come down, which just essentially ends the turn. But what I was going to say is on Gary's side, how many times do you actually swing here? Because you got to defend your own life. You don't want to give too many resources over to Joshua. So it's definitely an interesting one indeed.
Exactly. You've got to work out exactly what you're doing before you even go to attack, because it can just go completely sideways.
And we're having Joshua think over a play here, and he does end up playing a purple magic card, which looks like Core Theft, if I'm not mistaken, where you select one of your opponent's spirits, then discard any number of cards in your hand, and plays one core from that spirit into the trash for each card discarded.
Oh, it looks like he's playing his dragon again and potentially going to kill Gary's board.
Definitely a very, very strong move there, and he's going to draw a couple cards off of those Nexuses, and all... Is that all of Gary's except that one card? It looks like Gary has come back into play with the Had Immortal.
That is incredibly rough, because Gary's now had both of his big boards wiped. Just after crawling back, trying to get back into this game, his entire board is gone.
And Josh just got a bunch more calls from the void. One of the crazy things about this game is what ramp can happen with all of these cores, and each turn you just get so many more resources.
100%. And obviously Gary's got that absolute ice shield in burst, but I just don't think it's going to be enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we see the absolute ice shield come down. They're just going to go straight into the next turn. Not going to bother wasting time with the measly effects of it all, and they're just talking something over between themselves.
Gary's going to need to draw another absolute ice shield or some way to clear his opponent's board and keep some blockers up, but this is going to be super, super rough for Gary.
You know, one thing that must be really tough on the players is mapping out their turns. Like, if you just look at this, they have so many cores each.
Yeah.
There's no way that these players, in the back of their minds, know exactly the amount of cores they do. But if they do, they are so incredibly skillful.
And Gary plays his dragon as well, clearing his opponent's board. So Gary's going to draw a couple of cards, I believe, from his Nexus, and hopefully bring himself back into the game. Now, just incredible seeing Gary be able to do this after having his own board wiped twice. Sort of some retribution for Gary, I believe.
Definitely, and this game is just so close because
From reducing to 0.
Gary has 2 swings on field. Josh has 3 life. Is Gary able to get another swing on field and Josh doesn't have an answer to it? It could just be game over, as simple as that, because I don't see an absolute ice shield anywhere in Josh's hand.
Exactly. There's nothing he can do to actually defend it, unless he draws an absolute ice shield off of him resting cards. But it doesn't appear that Gary's actually going to do that. I think he's just going to leave cards up and try to block. Yeah, there we go.
We do just see the pass. It's definitely an interesting one, because if Josh had anything, like a deadly balance in hand, use the flash effect and be able to just remove one of Gary's spirits there, it just becomes extremely rough.
But as we see there, Josh did draw the absolute ice shield for turn. So even if Gary had played 3 cards and attacked, he was going to draw the absolute ice shield and stop the turn the next attack anyway. So it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, this game has just been back and forth, and I believe that is the card that just draws one on play that we see come down from Joshua. But he has such a large amount of cores. And one thing to note, both players have a large number of these Immortal cards in the discard, but they haven't been able to play it because removing cores doesn't trigger these on-destroy effects, and Immortal is one of those.
Well, and you see Josh being able to play 4 cards here with 2 blockers. Doesn't look like Gary. I believe they've just Gary scooped and they're going into game 2. Gary realised that he has 4 attacks. He can't get through 4 attacks.
Yeah, and it's going to be very difficult because that was a game 1 36-minute game.
That is an incredibly long game. Sometimes you just got to stick it out, but when you're playing these long games, sometimes you just got to realise, I'm not going to win. We're going to go into time. Let's just move forward and go to the next game.
Definitely. It'll be something that could be very interesting to see in the later rounds of this tournament, whether we just see players after, 3 or 4 turns just scooping it up and saying, you know what, you're at such an advantageous spot, I'm going to go into the next game.
Now, I do believe we've got our opponents sideboarding. I don't think we saw that last round, did we? Our opponents didn't sideboard.
No, I don't. From recollection, I don't remember. However, we could have just missed it. And I did see Josh add at least 2 of those star birth draws, so he wants that hand advantage.
I
And
think I saw 4 actually.
saw 4 go in. Well, that just shows how important hand advantage is, especially in this purple mirror, because everything just comes down to, do you have enough cards to survive and enough cards in hand to use your combos to be able to blow up my field.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, when you're sideboarding, you can actually just choose all cards in your sideboard, put them in your deck, and take yourself to 60 cards. You don't have to replace cards.
Yeah, I believe you are correct there. So sideboarding rules are a bit different. The deck size does not have to remain the same between each games, which is, it just adds an extra layer to sideboarding. It means your main board can be a bit greedier. For example, you could just run like a couple cards in your main, and then you've got like more space to side stuff. It's just really interesting. But I don't think your sideboard can get bigger. So I think
You get a 10-card sideboard, and that's that. But I don't believe our opponents here actually know if that you can side all your cards in, or you don't have to tell your opponent how many you're taking out and putting in, because
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I feel like at some point you'll be able to figure out, because size of deck is a relatively open area. So for conditions such as deck out, you kind of do need to know, but it doesn't look like they're going too
But just
crazy.
seeing how they showed each other what they're putting in and putting out, to me that makes me believe they aren't aware that you don't need to take out as many as you put in.
Yeah, definitely. It's quite a interesting one. We do see Gary has that that Nexus, which is able to just let him draw a bunch of extra cards every time an opponent's
So if you don't
spirit is exhausted.
And Gary going with that early draw there. His opponent hasn't decided what he wants to keep yet, so until his opponent has mulligan, Gary will not get the draw.
Mulligan.
So Gary has already drawn his card for not mulliganing, and then we are just seeing whether Josh is going to mulligan or not.
Yeah, that's how. I was saying.
It's only 20 minutes left in the round, though. I wonder how this game's going to go.
Well,
Potentially, we could go back to time and just have Josh win on time.
yeah, get confirmation.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see here. Yep, so both players have 5 cards in the hand, and then Gary is drawing 1 for turn, so to go up to 6 cards. And we are about to start game 2 of round 2.
Lovely. I can't wait to see how this game pans out, because as we thought Gary was losing from turn 3, but he showed us that he can stick in it and just keep pushing.
However, he did end up losing, so it is a important skill that I'm keen to see how it goes, that knowledge of when to scoop your games.
And pretty much an identical turn 1 for Josh. He's played his Nexus, and there you go.
Yes, definitely. It will be an interesting one to see how this game goes. The players are just thinking on their moves now, and we will just see the Camelot Knight come down, put the Soul Core on it so it has Curse. And we may be swinging here because Gary's turn was essentially a draw pass. And we are on Gary's second turn here. And we do see Gary draw into that Absolute Ice Shield, which isn't the most important now, but he is just going to lay it down for that early potential burst.
Exactly. And he's going to draw a card off of playing this card as well, giving you the Soul Core, and just trying to get some more cards in hand.
He's thinking whether to swing, and he just thinks, you know what, let's get that early pressure on, because last game, I just didn't have enough pressure by the late point of the game to finish it off.
I think Gary realizes here he has to go more aggressive and really push to get game, because his opponent definitely knows what he's doing with purple and can stall out as long as he needs.
It's still fresh in the game. Yeah. We're all learning it.
Thank you.
See, one big difference that you see here is Josh has that Absolute Ice Blast in hand, but he doesn't want to commit to putting in his burst now, because what if he draws that Starburst draw, and he just considers that more valuable early. So it is a little bit of a difference you see here, but Josh is also swinging in early, applying that little bit of early pressure, so it seems like both players want to go for a bit more of an aggressive game plan.
Yeah, knowing that they've only got 20 minutes left, or 18 now, I think they just want to get it over so they can get out and not have to go to time.
Definitely. I can definitely see the point of view on Gary's side of you, but as Josh, does some part of you just think, purple mirrors are meant to be slow?
Especially winning game 1, you sort of know you can take it a bit slower. Obviously not take it so slow that you need to get a judge called. You can take it a bit slower. You can take your time with your plays and and just sort of figure out what you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of different ways to, I guess, think about how to go about game 2.
I see Gary deciding what he wants to do. Bit of a tough decision. Does he go for the Nexus? Does he go for a Spirit? It's hard to tell. And he goes for the Spirit.
Yeah, it looks like we have this Immortal Spirit coming down, which honestly, it just doesn't get its chance to shine in the Purple Mirrors, because all the time you're destroying one of your opponent's your opponent's spirits, it's just due to removing their cores. Except we do see Gary, as I say that, normally destroy an opponent's spirit. Believe we're on turn 4 or 5 now for Josh. These early turns go rather slow, but then once you start getting enough spirits to kind of develop the big board presence, it gets a bit crazy. Oh, that is a beautiful tech card we see here.
Rocket City, I personally don't like playing against that card. It is crazy.
It is one of the better cards. And to see this in a purple mirror, I am so happy to see. So as you can see, Josh puts 2 cores on it, which means it has its level 2 effect, which is when your opponent draws outside of their draw step, they must discard a card from hand.
Such an incredibly strong card, especially into purple, considering the amount of draw it actually has. And if you have multiple Rocket Cities on field, your opponent's just going neg every time they play a draw card.
I do see, however, a Burning Force, the one that the magic card which destroys an opponent's Nexus. If I'm Gary here, I'm very much considering just burning Nexus at Rocket City, because I don't want that to allow to live here, because I like drawing my cards.
Exactly. It's sort of like the play that you know he's going to make, but he's just sort of tossing and turning over it. But eventually, he's just going to make the play.
Yep.
And he's actually passed.
That is quite an interesting line of play. Gary must be thinking something that we cannot. I'm very keen to see how it plays out. And we do just see the big Nexus come down for Josh. And it's just back over to Gary's turn.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Gary may have had a different sort of game plan, but seeing what happened with that last turn, just playing a Nexus and passing, definitely could have just killed that other Nexus earlier on.
Yeah, I think Gary was trying to play a bit more defensive, have a couple of options open for when Josh starts to attack, and Josh is like, you know what, that's fine.
Yeah, I won't attack. It's all good. Don't worry,
okay.
Gary.
I'm just going to play my own Netherworld Depths, and then Gary does the same thing and just plays a Netherworld Depths, which is one of these cards that draws every time your opponent exhausts a spirit.
And here, Josh can actually just start swinging and making Gary draw cards, but also making him discard, so he's not gaining any advantage off of it.
Definitely. And we do see this spirit which came down and was essentially one of the reasons Gary was put behind in Game 1, which is Dark Bishop, removing all the cores besides one from all of your opponent's spirits.
And there we go. We're going to see him attack into his life. He's going to draw a card. Gary's going to discard a card. And he's removed the core from his other spirit as well. So
that was off of the attacking spirit's effect. So the attacking spirit is a Dark Knight, Mordred, which when it's a level 2 or a level 3, so you need 3 or 5 cores on it respectively. When the spirit attacks, select one of your opponent's spirits, remove a core from it, and place it into their reserve.
It saves Gary from blocking as well, and it just kills the card anyway. So I can definitely see Gary drawing another card here. He does have the Absolute Eye Shield, so he's most likely going to be activating that one here so he can keep his life up. But it's looking to be in a rough position for Gary.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. It looks like Gary's not going to be able to get the full effect of his Absolute Eye Shield, because Josh is out of attacks for this turn, so Gary's going to have to flip it so he doesn't go down to 1. And he's just not, even if he does pay for it, it's just not getting into full
the turn's
value.
ending, yeah. So
Gary's sitting there with not too many cards in hand. I say that, then he fans it out and it's up to like 8 or something. But that could be 2 more if that Rocket City wasn't on the field.
Exactly. Now we do know that Josh has an Absolute Eye Shield in his burst as well. So Gary's not going to be able to play a couple of little cards and swing, but he's going to be able to sort of do some damage here at least.
Yep. So it looks like Gary is coming out with that Dark Knight Mordred as well, and on play you get to select one of your opponent's spirits, core spirits, and remove 2 cores from it.
Yeah.
So that will destroy the Dark Bishop that was on the field before. So one really interesting thing is both these players' decks are relatively similar. So it just goes to show all these players kind of going through the same testing and just being able to, I guess, agree upon what is the best cards to run in these decks.
Exactly, and I feel like a lot of the decks today are going to be the same, considering it is only just one set out. We're going to see a lot of the similar sort of tech cards, and towards the end of the day, when you get to the top tables, you'll start seeing the difference in status there.
Yep. So Josh has only 1 spirit left, and Gary looks like he's playing a magic card, which I believe will just remove that last core. So that looked like a core drain to me, which the activate main is select one of your opponent's exhausted spirits, move it up to 3 cores from it, and place into reserve, which is an extremely strong effect.
100% it is. Being able to kill that last card there, he's not going to have as many attacks next turn, and most likely can't kill Gary.
Sorry about that.
Now, Gary's adding those cards back to hand. From what effect is that, Max? Do you know?
Sorry.
I am not sure there. Must have missed that one, unfortunately. But we do just see the pass over to Joshua.
All right, now we've got to see Josh try and build up a board again. I can see that card that kills a Nexus in hand. Can't recall the name of it, but it's most likely going to come down and kill his Nexus.
That would be a Burning Force.
Yeah, Burning Force. But also, again, if he has the Burning Force in hand and kills it, he's going to stop Gary from drawing cards. But I feel like he just doesn't want Gary to draw any more cards and see more of his deck.
Definitely. Just being, as we said, just being able to control your opponent's hand as well as their board is essentially just the way to win these purple mirrors.
100%. The Nexuses in purple are so oppressive. Being able to kill them, it's just amazing.
I think that's fine.
Definitely. And as well as the absolute ice shield that we see in the burst, we also see 1 in hand. So that's at least 2 turns that Joshua is surviving, being able to draw into other cards.
100%.
It's 1 at a time.
So we do see another spirit come down here for Joshua.
We do only see that Joshua has 4 cores at his disposal for the Absolute Ice Shield. So we could potentially see him take 1 or 2 life to be able to pay that and keep his spirit on board, or have to just kill that spirit.
Definitely, yeah. So this is a Earth Spider Demon that is attacking, which has a when attacking effect. If this spirit has a soul core on it, which it does, select one of your opponent's spirits, move a core from it, and place it into their reserve. So that...
And that is an incredibly good looking card as well.
It most definitely is. And that was able to remove Gary's Dark Knight Mordred, which was removing cores from Josh's cards turn after turn. So we do see that Burning Force still in Gary's hand. Doesn't seem to feel like it has enough valuable targets on the board at the moment to commit 5 to it.
At this stage, yeah, you sort of just think, well, do I want to pay 5 and kill the Nexus? Not really. I've got 1 life left. I might want to try and develop a board. But even then, you're sort of worried that the Bishop's going to come down and then it's going to also kill your entire board, as we've seen happen twice last game.
Yeah, definitely. If that Dark Bishop comes down as well as the Infernal King Cursed Dragon, it's pretty much game over for Gary. So Gary's kind of has to sit there and wonder, look, I have to attack because I have to apply pressure. But if I'm not attacking, then my board state doesn't go anywhere.
Yep.
But if I do attack, I'm exhausting stuff and I'm giving Josh cards in hand as well as extra resources.
We're also seeing, he does have the Bishop in hand, Josh does. I don't believe he has the other card, though, to be able to clear the board. But yeah, he may be able to draw into that next turn.
Yeah, Gary's definitely going wider with his board, so each of his spirits doesn't have as many cores on it. So even if he just draws the 8-cost dragon, he may be able to hard play that and then just wipe Gary's board.
And especially that he has the Nexus on field to be able to draw every time he exhausts a card. He will be drawing, if Gary swings, he could be drawing up to 5 cards this turn.
Which is a lot of cards. And I think Gary has to at least swing once here with this massive board. And I think Gary's kind of just going all in and was like, look, I did this to you last game. I put a I put a star draw berth into my burst.
Yep, Josh is taking the life there.
Yep. I think Josh wants to force Gary to keep exhausting so he can keep drawing cards to see the out.
Yep.
And then he's just going to keep taking this. And essentially, he's just going to say, yep, I got to draw this one as well.
He has to activate, yeah.
He has to activate it this turn. And that
Gary just scoops. Yeah, that is
scoops it up.
game for Josh.
Well, that was such an exciting end to game 2 there. We knew that Josh had that absolute ice shield in there. Gary was a bit unsure, but we do see the end of game 2 there.
Yeah, and Gary having those 6 cards on field, Max, it's quite rough, especially, he knows that if he can't swing through, it's just game.
Yeah, he definitely went for that all or nothing. He was like, last game I was able to, get a bit of a sneaky on you, Josh. I was able to put that star birth draw into my burst and get the full effect to draw 4. Maybe you'll try and do the same back to me. However, there was an opportunity there for Josh to use the star birth draw. So I think Gary knew deep down it was absolute ice shield, but you had to go for it at that position.
Exactly. It's do or die at that situation, and yeah, unfortunately, Gary died.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened. But that was the end of our round 2 game. So that was a purple mirror match. So all we have left to see is white, and we'll have the full trifecta. We have 3 more rounds to try and get it done.
Lovely. Let's see how we do. But we do have a couple of products here and a fair bit of time left. So what do you think, Max? We'll go into some products real quick.
I think we can go into one quickly because we are only got 2 minutes left on the clock.
What do you think? We do a cheeky pack battle for 2 minutes?
We can do a
Get it
cheeky
open.
back
You've got the
battle.
nails. I'll